Chapter 3. Learning about good news.
Everyone in Marcus's neighborhood knew Mr. Jackson and went to his barbershop for their haircuts. But sometimes, people would just stop by to talk or maybe play a game of checkers.
Well, well, look who's here.
Mr. Jackson bellowed as Marcus came in.
It's my favorite customer. It looks like he needs a haircut.
Hey,
Marcus said quietly. Marcus noticed that today, Mr. Jackson was treating him a little bit differently. Today, he was treating him like one of the guys.
So, Marcus, what's up with that sad look on your face?
Asked Mr. Jackson. He then draped a large cloth over Marcus's small shoulders.
Your head's so low, I can't even cut your hair,
said Mr. Jackson. Then he placed his strong hand gently under Marcus's chin to lift and hold it steady. Click! Bzzz, went the clippers. Mr. Kelly, who was a truck driver years ago, stopped his game of checkers and asked,
Marcus? I've never seen you so sad before. Why the long face?
I don't know,
Marcus replied.
Come on now, Marcus. You've never looked like this. What's going on?
Asked Desmond, Mr. Jackson's assistant. Everyone listened closely as Marcus began to talk about his journey to the barbershop. Marcus sighed.
Well, on the way here, I saw a bunch of bad news. I saw junky old buildings and trash all over the place. I saw people drinking, and some kid knocked me down.
Clumps of hair fell to the ground. Mr. Jackson lifted Marcus's chin higher and said,
You're right, son. There is some bad news out there. And it just don't seem right. Not right at all. But there's a lot of good news around here that you're not seeing.
Really? Like what?
Marcus respectfully asked.
Hey, what about the Wilsons?
Answered TK.
You know, both parents work hard jobs, and they still take time to be together. Now that's some good news.
Ms. Powell added,
You probably walked right past Miss Isabel's house. She's got one of the prettiest gardens in the neighborhood. You could say that she grows good news.
Marcus listened as the folks in the barbershop reminded him and each other about all the good news in their neighborhood. Mr. Jackson said,
Why, just the other day I saw Mr. Alexander and his son fixing up some old bikes to give to kids in the neighborhood. You should see how happy those kids are to get those bikes.
Well, let's not forget my nephew Kyle.
Miss Powell exclaimed.
That child loves to play his trumpet, and hearing his music just makes my day.
Oh, and then there's Mr. Blake.
Added TK.
He's been selling ice cream for years. When I was a kid, all he had was a little cart, and now he's got his own truck.
Wow,
Marcus thought. What was supposed to be a 10-minute haircut turned out to be an hour of history, laughter, and hope. Mr. Jackson spun the barber chair toward the mirror and said,
See how high your head is right now? Your chin is up, and you're proudly looking ahead.
yeah.
said Marcus.
Well, Marcus, once you jump down off this chair, don't you let your head drop. Not one bit.
Instructed Mr. Jackson.
Why not?
Marcus asked. With the help of a cane, Mr. Kelly slowly lifted himself from his chair and said,
Son, you can't see anything with your head hanging down. And you need to not only see the good news, you need to be the good news.
The haircut was finished, and as is tradition, Mr. Jackson handed the mirror to Marcus and asked,
Well, how's it look?
And to Marcus, things looked different.
Next chapter. Good news is everywhere.